Ask for what you want. I'm forever amazed at the power of women and what they will go through and what they will soldier on to achieve their goals.
We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather today, the Noongar Wadandi Mort. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging.
Scratch the surface and everyone has a story. Welcome, Kaya, to the wisdom of women.
Our guest today is very passionate about helping families transition from the carefree world of no kids to the crazy world of families.
Welcome, Harriette Coulson. Now, I am very young, too young to be a mother, but it does sound like a nice job. I love cuddling babies, so...
That's a fabulous job. Amazing job.
Now, this love of babies, though, H, started very young. You're a bit of a neighbourhood stalker. Tell us about that.
I did. I used to stalk neighbourhood women, pregnant women. I was like, when's your baby due?
When? How old were you?
About 14.
Oh, I love it.
I love it.
And then they'd have their baby and I'd go to their house about 5 o'clock. Be perfect because they were into the gin. And I'd be like, I'm here to help. Be like, great, love the baby, please. Feed it. Do whatever. And they loved it and I did it for fun, and yet they could have paid me millions of dollars and they didn't.
Oh.
That's witching hour, isn't it?
I didn't realise that then, but they were so grateful to see me. I can see
bet they were. So did that lead you going into nursing as you got that little bit older?
I don't think
How did
so.
it work?
Well, right from 8 years old, I think I was. I said I wanted to deliver babies. That's what I wanted to do. And so that was going to be my path. And I wanted 8 children, all boys, and that was what I was going to do.
Are you kidding? You were very scheduled.
Very shit. I had my baby, I had my layout going, I had it all happening. I had all the names picked. Yeah, crazy. About baby, anything. Yeah.
So you go off to nursing. So you did
nursing.
nursing first.
Yes.
And then specialised in midwifery.
We had to in those days because I'm 100.
Yeah, of
But
course.
now you can do it straight through. So yes, and I went to Scotland and did my midwifery, and that was awesome. And then I lived overseas for a few years, just practicing and really consolidating.
So tell us about some of the experiences with it all, because wow, that's a big place, a very special place to be in, a delivery suite or wherever it may be. Life-altering moments.
Yes, amazing. I felt very privileged to be part of people's births. You really are, because it's really intimate, and to have to get that relationship going very quickly and establish trust and everything to help someone have their baby. So, yeah, really amazing.
Did you have a few mentors, older nurses, older midwives that you turned to? Can you tell us about some of them? They must have been characters.
Oh, they're amazing. Especially in Oxford Delivery Suite, that was incredible. We had 20 births a day, I guess. Wow. Yeah, so that's 7,000 a year. So really busy. And Sally and Edna, I think her name is, yes.
Cool.
They partnered together, and I think they were together, but nobody knew because you weren't allowed to in those days. But anyway, they lived together and denied that anything was going on there. But they were amazing, and they really, supported me, mentored me. It was really incredible, and just showed me how to do things which weren't going well, or things that you could have done better, and then, just taught me everything. And they ended up calling me the racehorse because I just learned that really quickly.
Is that right? So, H, very privileged. You must have gone through some beautiful moments, but also some tragedies as well.
Yes, many beautiful moments. But yeah, there are a few tragedies, not many, which is lucky. But I did have one lady who lost her baby in the labour, and that was very traumatic. And then it just so happened that the next time she was having a baby, I happened to be the same midwife on. And then we had this beautiful birth with this live baby, and it was just amazing, and the whole room was crying. And I've got this fabulous picture of me holding up this baby, like, wow, this one's alive. It's so beautiful.
Look what we made.
Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But yeah, very few and far between sad moments, which is great.
What do you see as some of the biggest challenge for women in the childbirth scenario? Like, you must have seen all different types of women come in. All
different types. I think a lot of women are very pressured to have a vaginal birth. That's, meant to be. That's how it is supposed to be. And when that doesn't happen, I think a lot of women go through feelings of failure, that they haven't been able to do whatever they were supposed to do. And I think it's a lot of pressure on them to have this, straightforward birth. So, and with all the litigation changing over the years of obstetrics, a lot of the obstetricians are cutting to the chase and,
Okay, so
cesarean section much more on the rise, and epidurals and things that turn into a cascade of intervention, I guess.
So the potential for a vaginal delivery to turn into something very difficult means doctors or obstetricians would more likely take a safe route. Is that what Caesars are considered?
Yes. Safe option for mother and baby.
Okay. They must have their concerns though as well. Caesars, do they have things that
they do? I mean, it's a vaginal birth is safer to have as long as it's straightforward, because caesarean is an operation, obviously, and with that, there's always risks of bleeding and infection and just complications. So to try not to do that, but it's on the rise because they want mum and baby safe, and of course litigation is on the rise. And so if you don't have a perfect mum and a perfect baby, then people will sue.
Yeah, okay. Because I have heard commentary about women who like to book their caesarean in because it fits in with life. Mm-hmm. But as you say, it's probably more reflective.
Yes.
Of safety.
Yeah, that's right. Or if they've had a very difficult birth the first time, then they just opt to have a caesarean next time. Or if they've had a difficult birth the first time that ended up in a caesarean, they're not going to go through that again. Even though they can trial to have a vaginal birth after a caesarean, they call that a VBAC. A lot of women choose not to because they just want to cut to the chase because it was very traumatic the first time. Mm-hmm. So they just don't want to do it. So caesarean section is on the rise, and also there are some birth injuries involved with forceps, and so they're less likely to do those these days as well. Mm-hmm. So if the baby's not coming, even though it's kind of nearly born, they will choose to do a caesarean section instead of a difficult forceps delivery. Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good option for a woman and baby to have if it all turns pear-shaped. Absolutely. In a matter of seconds.
Yes.
Is that one of the big changes of midwifery over the years?
It is, definitely, because there are a lot of birth injuries before, a lot of women having injuries, a lot of blood loss, and we're very lucky in this country. It's the first world country to have maternal mortality is extremely low.
Yeah, and whereas, because back in the old days of horse and carriage, I mean the expectation of a woman passing away or death in childbirth was very real concern, wasn't it?
Definitely. So we're very lucky that is very rare. But still, in third world countries, it's a very common occurrence. Mm. Or, damage to women forever in terms of incontinence and fistulas and, things that they'll be shunned in their own communities.
So reflective then of the medical care that women in childbirth receive or don't have access to.
Yes, absolutely. It's actually quite a dangerous thing to have a baby. So to be in the hands of someone who's going to end up being alive yourself and having a live baby is an awesome option. Yeah. It's, not all countries have afforded that luxury.
Yeah, so as much as it is a natural process, like you say,
a lot of things
dangerous.
Can go wrong. It is dangerous. Yes, it is.
What have you seen as far as changes to midwifery over the years? Has ethos changed? Has advice changed?
It has. I think there's more monitoring of babies. I think sometimes it leads to like a snowball gathering snow or moss ball gathering moss. That one thing will lead to another because you can see things that are happening. So to have somebody come in without any monitoring and just have their lovely vaginal birth is becoming less frequent, which is a little bit sad, I guess. And epidurals create their own issues, and a lot of more women are choosing to have that. Because we don't like pain, so and that is a safe option for women to have. But it can also lead to longer births and more difficult births because you've kind of interrupted the process, I guess. Yeah. But women are they are creating a voice that they don't want to be in pain and they don't want to have this for a long time.
Yeah, that's interesting. You talk about women finding their power in choosing exactly how they want a birth to unfold. But things go a cropper, don't they, sometimes? As in, sometimes what you think is going to happen doesn't.
Yeah.
That's right. And a lot of women do have a birth plan. This is what they'd like to happen, but it doesn't always follow suit. And I think sometimes if you're setting that up, then it can be much more disappointment than if you kind of realise that it is, no one has a crystal ball, and if you just kind of go in and just whatever happens and you're in safe hands, might be a better way to get your head around it if things don't go quite as you wanted it to.
Yeah. I didn't have, I had a Caesar, but I didn't have a birth plan. before I knew I was having a season, because I watched my friend who was very organised have a birth plan. It all turned to poo, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good for her mental health. So I think her mum said to me, she shouldn't have been so organised. She shouldn't have read that book. She shouldn't have done it. She should just gone in there and let it go.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm going to let it go.
And so you did.
Well, I had no choice anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes it's out of our hands. Yeah.
And it's confusing, isn't it? I mean,
it is.
Especially when you have your first baby, you're like, what? It doesn't matter how much you prepare, it's never what you think it's going to be.
No, it isn't. No, it really isn't.
Yeah.
So, and there are a lot of expectations for women to
and
have the birth that they want, and sometimes it doesn't pan out.
Is the age of mothers, is that going higher or lower?
It seems to be a bit lower these days, the trend, actually.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Used to be, do your whole career and then start having your babies, in your 30s.
Yeah.
But I see a lot more young women these days. They're more like 22, 23.
Yeah. Good.
So I couldn't tell you exactly the average, but it seems to be just...
Oh, that's very young.
Yeah.
It is.
I wasn't going to have babies until I was 34.
Same.
Had one and then realised, this is fun.
This is
I
fun.
might have some more.
Were you the
Not
same?
as many as you though. Like,
I
would
did
you have
start at
continued? Like, at what point did you say, all right, enough's enough?
Well, never really. No. So, I was like you, 34, and then I just luckily spat them all out one by one. Poor Annie was born at 45, I was. So.
Oh, you're 45.
Yes, I was. So, and... I was kind of offended at the time, as women are now, because you were considered this elderly...
Geriatric, isn't that the term?
Yeah. Well, I was 39 when I had Dan, and I was a geriatric, and I was like, okay, I guess I am, but I never really thought about it.
And they wanted to induce me. They said, you're way too old, your placenta's going to fail, and everyone's going to die.
And your pelvic...
just went, oh my God.
And your pelvic floor will be a mess. Don't put yourself through it.
That's right, all of that. So, so I was induced with Annie, and that was that.
Okay.
Anyway, luckily it was all straightforward.
Yeah.
And I'm much more geriatric now, so that's okay.
But full of amazing advice. So nursing, midwifery, and also, though, breastfeeding specialist and advisor. How's that working for you? Life's busy.
Life's busy, but I love that. I love the breastfeeding. I've always had a passion for that.
Yep.
And when in my earlier midwifery days, I did some research, which was probably a little bit messy then, not really, like it should the standards are today. But it was amazing. I've always been passionate about breastfeeding. If we feel, if that's what they want to do.
I was going to say, because it can be an issue that can fill people with a bit of angst, kind of breastfeeding. Yes. I just remember an experience I had with one of the kids where a nurse would come in and try and show you, oh yes, you've got to do it that way, and then you'd have another nurse in the next shift come in and say, oh no, you're doing it all wrong, try this way.
Exactly.
Like, that's hard.
And it's not grey. It's nurse A, midwife A says black and midwife B says white. And so the poor women are very confused about.
Confusing.
And there are more one way to skin a cat really about in terms of breastfeeding. So with my ladies, I love to ask them, what do you want to do? I'll help you do whatever you want to do with breastfeeding. And although it's natural, it is a learned skill to be able to get this baby on properly as such. Otherwise, you do end up with the sore nipples, nipples.
Like, I guess this takes us back to a bit of an olden days thing, because you say it's a learned skill, and then a lot of my friends really struggled, and they had to go to this specialist, like lactation specialists and all of this. But is that something perhaps that we had to learn to do again, because perhaps in the past we would have learned that from our mothers, our aunties, our communities, our wise women around us, but now kind of outsourcing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, when we had a village going where you had all the children and all the aunties and grandma, you didn't so much need that. And the traditional cultures don't have any issue with breastfeeding whatsoever. I worked in Cairns as a midwife, as a large Indigenous population. Well, I just felt like I had no role in labour or breastfeeding, because their families would just come in and help them. It was so beautiful to see. And you'd be filling off the question, how many times does your baby feed a day, and they'd look at you and say, once, all day. We're not counting. It's the overthinking. I think a lot of women overthink it, and a lot of staff overthink the feeding instead of kind of going with the flow. But I do find the women who haven't had the birth they really want to get the breastfeeding right. And so they put a lot of pressure on themselves to breastfeed because they can feel that they have failed somehow in the birth or didn't get what they wanted. And so even more pressure to breastfeed, which can really play havoc with their mental health.
And like there's some people I remember. I knew this guy and his wife was going to. I was going to give birth to Dan, and he said to me, "Oh, his wife had a season." Her cousins would say, "Well, you haven't really given birth because it was cesarean, so you haven't given birth." And he would get so angry and retaliate. She has.
Exactly.
There's a baby and it's birthed. Stop it. And then, you know, the decision to not breastfeed, or she couldn't breastfeed, I can't remember. Maybe it was her decision. And like these cousins really attacked her, and he's, "Don't let anyone attack you, Jo." And it's like, "Oh, okay."
Yes, absolutely.
But it's
I'm
tricky.
gobsmacked that people would actually think that that's okay to say in the first place, because you've grown this baby in you for 40 weeks or whatever it might have been.
Yeah.
It's just the delivery method. You've
right.
still created a little human being.
Yeah.
So however you get it out, all well and good.
Exactly
You've done a
right.
job.
And you have given birth, which is why we now say vaginal birth or cesarean, not normal delivery,
Okay.
because you know it's
Yeah.
not normal.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, natural if you like, but yeah. So
And if we didn't have those cesarean interventions or whatever they said, the baby and the mother probably wouldn't be here. So
exactly.
let's
So
be grateful
it
and
is a
nice about it.
godsend, really. Yes. Yes.
Which leads through to the breastfeeding conversation as well. Because like you say, Harriette, some people might feel like that they're letting themselves down or their baby down if they can't breastfeed. But that's just rubbish as well.
Absolutely. So the baby needs to be fed. This is the bottom line, and however that can happen, it just has to be best for the whole family, really. And although breast milk is a superior milk, you know, that is fact, and you can't really dispute that. But breastfeeding is not for everybody, and for a lot of reasons, some women don't like to breastfeed. They may have some past issues. There's sexual abuse issues. There's other sensitivity issues that they don't want to directly feed their baby. And expressing and feeding your baby the whole time is very time consuming. So that may not work. And the other thing is that some women just don't enjoy that whole process of being tied to the baby. And it is quite tiring because you're the only one who can feed it.
Yeah.
So
you can't hand over to your partner at 3 a.m. in the morning, can you?
No.
Go and sort the baby out.
That's right. You're the one with the boobs there to breastfeed. And so I think having a choice is great for women, and to be able to mix that up.
Yeah.
So you don't need to either bottle feed or breastfeed. You can mix that up.
So women should never feel guilty about how they're going to deliver their child or how they're going to feed it as well. Just stop it, everyone.
Yes,
Stop it.
be nice to yourself.
Yes. Be
Yeah.
kind. Yes. So it's the pressure, I think, comes from a lot of the family, the partner particularly, and grandma. They're the biggest influences of how women breastfeed, and also, you know, the staff, of course.
Because I have heard the comment, "Your milk's not good enough." Can that happen?
Very rarely.
Yeah.
Very rarely. Yes.
Yeah.
And I explain this to women, I say, look, you think of these women in Africa who have a bowl of rice every 2 days and they breastfeed their babies. They may not grow fabulously, but they grow and they survive.
Yeah.
You know, the baby will take from you. So
that's a myth. Yeah, it's rubbish. I like
if you
that.
have a normal, healthy kind of diet, and even if you don't have a very healthy diet, you know, if you just lived on bread and apple, I'm sure you still have enough vitamins and things with the additives we have here.
Yeah.
But a normal healthy diet, but lots of water, really. That is actually important, to drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
Which is very hard for women to do, because you sit down to feed the baby and the water bottle's miles away. So you have to really station them around the house.
And then when are you going to have time to go to the loo?
That's right.
Because, you know,
do need
we've all tried to go to the toilet with kids.
At least the baby can't come in with you unless you bring it. Other than toddler knocking on the door.
Yes.
But,
So you must find yourself being a bit of a counsellor right across the board, not just for breastfeeding, but, you know, parental tips and handy hints as well.
Absolutely. I have as many women come in and sit, and nothing's wrong with their breastfeeding. They might just come in and they just want to talk about other things.
Yeah.
Baby sleep, and there's a lot of pressure on having babies sleep and routine and all of these things. So really a lot of pressure, and I say, look, your routine is whatever. Is it working for you? Then there is no problem.
Yeah.
And then you have the situation where you're not supposed to sleep with your baby, but there's a lot of closet co-sleepers out there. And just recently the advice has changed in the sense that it's much safer to co-sleep with your baby in a safe manner rather than fall asleep with it on the sofa or an unsafe surface.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I think that will get rid of a lot of guilt of people who,
guilt.
Yeah, they're so tired. Guilt again. It's
I
a
had
really
a lot of
thing.
guilt about, because Dan had a lot of reflux and he would only sleep on his tummy. And one of the other mothers the midwife came to visit her, or she was at and the midwife said something about putting the baby on his tummy now. And she said, "What?" She said, "You've put my friend through hell. She has been up nights watching her baby sleep because he's what? You're changing it now? You're changing it now?"
Yeah, that's
and
right.
it was really funny. I was like, "Oh, look, I'm fine." I just kind of went, "Okay, he's doing it. I'm going to have to just chill out a bit." But yeah, the guilt was there, but it was funny because the advice then started to change a little bit. I don't know what it is now, but it changed a little bit.
It's still not to go to sleep at night on their tummy, but
They roll
you're
over.
in the daytime.
Oh yeah.
You're watching this baby and it sleeps better on its tummy, then do that. Or it doesn't have to sleep in the bassinet or bed. I say to a lot of my women that my children lived in a sling, baby carrier.
I'm a big fan of the sling.
I
Yes,
love a
that got
sling.
me around doing a few jobs and still living life.
Definitely. But there is this pressure that you must have this sleep and feed, play, sleep routine going, and it's just, it's really not sustainable.
No, and
You
at
have
the
to
end
get
of the
around
day,
and do your stuff, and you want the baby in the sling.
Yeah.
You could do anything in that. Wash floors,
Yeah.
hang the washing, except sleep. Anything but sleep in that sling. But pretty much everything you can do.
but at the end of the day, it's about finding what works for you, as you've said.
That's right. Yeah, whatever works for you. And,
Yeah.
the baby still needs to be fed.
Yeah.
You can't do any kind of sleep training in my book until they're at least 6 months old or more.
There you go.
So that's my top tip for that.
Oh,
And
I love that.
the other
Don't
one
break
is to
yourself
outsource wherever you can.
up. Okay.
Yep, so cleaners, gardeners, handymen. And people say, "Oh, I can't afford it." I say, "Well, formula is $40 a tin, so there's your cleaner right there." So if you can do that, then you have time as a family. Otherwise, husband's doing everything, or partner, or mum, and then there's no time together.
Yeah. And sometimes it's okay to have egg on toast for dinner.
Absolutely.
Or to leave the washing for another few days.
Yes. But depending on the person, and there are type of personalities, as I'm sure you all know, that some people can't do that. They say sleep when the baby sleeps. Now, a lot of women, they're just not going to do that. That's just not going to work for them. So you need to give them alternative ideas to do that.
Yeah.
So don't worry about the mess. Well, they are. That is their whole thing. If things aren't in order, they are not going to function. So get your sling on. Then you can clean your house and have it like that. Then you can relax. Or, you have make your meals beforehand. You've got 9 months in pregnancy. Would you have at least some time of the day you can prepare and have a freezer full of stuff that you can pull out?
Yeah, that's a good tip, actually.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's definitely a food thing that's worrying. And rather have your own food because, and I learnt this the hard way when I had small children, people would give you meals, they'd bring you meals, but the kids didn't want that, they didn't like it, and that makes it difficult. Grateful as I was, I would have eaten anything, I would have eaten my shoe, but they then had to sort something else out for the kids. I'd rather they came and hang the washing or go do my shopping for me or something else.
And one of my friends did that. She said, "I'm just going to come over and make you a cup of tea and sit down, and you don't even have to talk to me. I'm going to make the tea. You're not going to make the tea." But I said, "No, I'm a doer. Can you hold the baby and I'll make the tea?"
That's it. Sometimes you want a break from the baby.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. And she was really great because she struggled with not having a great partner, not having a lot of support. So I think she was like, "Okay, I'm going to do it right for someone." And she was
that's
awesome.
right.
Yeah, she was great.
Yes, ask for what you want, and that would be the other thing. I think we're not very good at doing that. We're not good at asking for help.
No.
And so if somebody says, "What can I do?" It's like, "Be great. Can you go to the shops?" Or hold the baby.
Hold the baby. Let me go to the shops. I
Yes.
can wander around like I did a couple of months ago.
I used to just get in the car and drive around the block just so I didn't have to strap anybody in or do anything.
That's so cute. But you still wanted more though. See,
I know.
it doesn't
I did
stop
love
you.
them.
Just from wanting a little break doesn't mean you don't want your kids.
No, definitely not. But everybody needs a little break, a little time out,
Yeah.
and just some sleep. And that was a big thing for women. It's the lack of sleep. I don't know how you guys are about sleep. I could live on 2 hours, but women who need 8 hours, it's a really rude shock. It's actually, it's very chaotic parenting if you're used to having some sleep. So
and it
that's
can
tricky.
exacerbate, as you've said before, a lot of mental health aspects as well. And again, is that something where you've recognised in some of the women that you visited and thought, oh, you need a little bit more help here?
Definitely. And sometimes I like to say, let's have a reset and have one whole night, and then somebody else is going to look after that baby totally. Because you need to switch off sometimes. It's like permanently driving, raising children. You can never take your eye off the ball, particularly when they get older and you have toddlers and a baby. It's just relentless. You know, gorgeous as it is relentless. To have a complete break where someone just feeds that baby. And if you get 8 hours sleep in a row, it's like a reset button. And then you can get up and just function again and back on the roller coaster. But sometimes you just need a complete break rather than thinking you must, soldier on and do everything yourself.
Yeah, be too tough. Have you noticed much of a difference between young mothers and older mothers?
Definitely. And this is nothing to say to you, Sydney, about being
Get out there
today.
and get babies.
But I think with all the helicopter parenting of, generations, maybe 10 years less than we girls, but the younger girls are not as resilient, I'm finding, these days with things, because they haven't been allowed to climb trees at school. They haven't been allowed to take risks. They have been more cotton-wooled. And so when it comes to parenting, they just don't have this great problem-solving skills, I guess. That's what I kind of find. It's just a general thing, but they're all generalisations.
But as they've learned, they've carried that through to their own parenting style.
Yes.
So it just sort of continues into generational.
And I think it will come full circle again, and kids will be allowed to do more things.
Yeah.
In the back of the washing powder packet now, it's got how to make mud pies. It's
great,
got like
has it?
instructions about it.
Seriously?
Oh, jeez.
Because a lot of people
How
are
hard is
not
it?
letting
Bit
their
of
kids.
dirt, bit of water.
No. People aren't letting the kids crawl around and lick the floor because we're very germ focused. Everything is 99% germ free.
Yeah.
We need some
the
germs.
kids. Yeah. We do need some germs.
Yeah, not all of them. Just a few are good though, aren't they, for the old immune system?
Yeah, just
Lick
a
a
few.
floor once or twice.
I think most kids have done that at some point. I hope they have.
I remember Sid catching Sid being fed snails by her two older brothers once.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Snails.
That's your resilience right there, Sid.
Oh my
That's
lord!
your resilience right there.
Oh.
Yes.
Hey,
Makes
you
who
must
you
have
are
some
today.
good stories with your
I've got
kids.
a great picture of, there was only 4 of them at that point, but they're in a baby bath of varying different ages, and poor Luca is there like completely covered in mud, and then Charlie's got a few, and then Mac has just got a bit here and he's like twisting,
That'll be right.
just mashed it all over this.
The little one.
They're very healthy, those children, that's for sure,
Oh,
having licked many floors.
I love that.
And make the mud pies. That's brilliant.
Oh,
We need to make more mud pies. Isn't that what one of our other guests wanted? Get out there and make mud pies.
Yes,
And
make
just
more pies and
get out there with
and
your
get
kids.
barefoot and and get off the screens. Really.
rediscover the inner child as well for the older ones, isn't it? So what do you take away from your 34 years and plus from nursing and midwifery? I mean, you're still flat out out and about.
Yeah.
When you think about what you've done, and what are some of the sort of key things that stick with you?
Life is fluid. Things are fluid, definitely. What is current at this point is not necessarily current, next week or next month or next minute, in fact. And to be fluid and to be very adaptable to changing things. And I think working with women in labour wards, and also this job that I do now, is that, you've got to be flexible, really. And things can change really quickly. You have to be able to adapt to it quite quickly. And that kind of works in your own life too then, really. Because, before I had children, I was quite an ordered and, organised person. I had to kind of let some things go. So I often think of Elsa and Anna, let it go.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
True.
And not
We'll
having...
throw that in there.
It's really important to be flexible. Otherwise, you will wound yourself into knots.
Yeah.
I'd be up crawling around the floor looking for that lost, puzzle piece.
Oh, Lord.
Or that lost Lego piece, which you're never going to find unless all the lights are off, and then you walk in to get a drink of water and then it's on your foot.
Oh, and there is life. Yeah.
There is life. And just to be amazed, I'm forever amazed at the power of women and what they will go through and what they will soldier on to achieve their goals, whether it be in their labour or with their feeding, to the point that they are compromising their mental health. But with a few little tweaks and changes, then they can kind of get through that and achieve what they want to.
Yeah, women are pretty awesome, aren't they?
Are really amazing. I'm forever in awe of them, really.
Yeah, we are too.
Yeah.
H, thanks for talking to us today. Now, here at the Wisdom of Women, we love a good quote or words that we do think a woman should hear at least once in her life. Have you got anything for us?
Well, my favourite one is to do what you love, leave the job you hate, which is not parenting children. Be happy. And for women, you can only control what you can control. Control the thing. And so, just do the best you can with what you have.
That's true.
Beautiful sentiments, H.
Thank you for coming on. Now, if you have been affected by any of the topics discussed in this conversation, we will have links below, as well as links for more show information and to subscribe.
And always remember,
every day,
you are remarkable.